Hey guys, welcome back to another Weird Wednesday. I'm Ashers, and this is,
Pat O.
and also
Craigo.
Craig.
My
Craig,
long lost brother from another mother.
is Craig short for Gregory? Is that what it is?
I've had someone in my past that called me Craigery, and so it was nice, but no, it is Craig.
That's okay. Oh my gosh, so exciting to have Craig Woolheater here on the show today. I absolutely cannot wait to get into what you've done and what you are going to do in the future. That's going to be fucking awesome. I think it's great. So, Pat O, how was your?
Are we taking shots when there's an F bomb?
That's an interesting game
Yeah,
to play. I'd be
sure.
Okay, I'll get my fireball out
Get your.
and I'll do shots and see how I am by the end of the show.
Well, we don't want to kill you, but you might die. We probably
But I
should
might
have
die.
Yeah, we probably should have had you sign a waiver before we started this. But hey, you do you. I'm not gonna yuck your yum. You do whatever
I
whatever you
love
need to.
I love that saying.
Yuck your yum.
Yeah.
I
It
say
sounds
that.
so wrong.
It's but it feels so right. Um
That's what I've heard.
Pato, how was your weekend? What did you do with yourself?
What did I do with myself? I spent 13 hours on Saturday into Sunday filming Soul Sucker, a segment for an upcoming horror anthology called Six Pack of Terror, which, as the title might suggest, is comprised of six horrific short films. My buddy Derek shot one of these. He had helped me last weekend with my 48-hour film, and he did such a good job shooting one of these segments, which I was a producer on, that he got asked to film a second segment, and we did that all day Saturday. It was a 13-hour shoot over 2 locations. I did sound for like the first 9/10 of it, and then he had also asked me to be an actor in it. So after I had already shot for like 12 hours, then I had to act, which was probably the worst fucking part of it. But being I did theater in high school and shit. Like, obviously I do the film thing sporadically now, so it's not something completely foreign to me. I would never sell myself as an actor to anybody, but he needed somebody, and of course I was willing to help. So I played the part of lover one at the bar, and my scene is at the end of the short, and it's me and an actress, Heather Harlow, who played lover two, and we were flirting at the bar, and we leave together, and I don't know, whatever, just watch it. But yeah, I'd say the movie's called Soul Sucker. It's about a vampire that I'm sorry, a warlock who sucks the souls from his victims, only to have the tables turned on him when one of his victims ends up being a demon. And having that be the plot of the movie, I could still say with a fair amount of confidence that the idea that actress Heather Harlow would be at a bar flirting with me is the most unrealistic portion of the short film.
I saw a movie called Soul Suckers once, but it was an adult film. So
Yeah, well, maybe Heather and I like the spinoff where we can do that. She was no, I don't want to speak disparagingly of the woman. She was absolutely phenomenal to work with. She's a special effects artist too, which I want to work with her at some point. And also, one of the things that the film did was after the warlock character like sucks the souls out of his victims, we would shoot the victims lying there soulless with those white contacts in their eyes, and it was like, I don't know why I never thought to like buy those and do something with them, because like the second the one actor like went and put them in, then came back on set, I was like, holy shit, it's like the Beyond. And it like totally reminded me of like all those cheesy Italian horror movies where they have the white contacts in, and it means that they're like ghosts or like zombies or whatever, you know.
And they're so cheap. I mean,
yes, it's like
cheap.
It's the easiest fucking thing in the world to do, and it never, I'm sorry, take a shot, and it never occurred to me to do that. So that was like, I was like, well, if I got anything out of this 13-hour fucking shoot, take another shot. It's that I need to start investing in these white contacts. They're like $30 to buy online, and you might even be able to get them cheaper somewhere. But yeah, so stay tuned for that. So that was Friday, and that was Saturday into Sunday, and then that just kind of like fucked up my take another shot my whole weekend, because when you do something like that big and time consuming, like I didn't get home till 4 a.m. on Sunday, and then I had to do the whole filming a church thing, and like that just threw off my whole cycle. So I'm just now kind of like recouping and balancing out. But I wanted to pimp two things real quick. One, next weekend, Saturday, October 8th, I will be at the Chicago Paranormal Convention. That's right, the Chicago Paranormal Convention. Yes, you have to know how definitive that name is, right? Not like, no, it's the Chicago Paranormal Convention, which is taking place where else but the Summit Park District. It goes from noon till 6 p.m. I'll be there around 2 p.m. with Leland Pearson of the Questioning the Weird YouTube channel, filming some stuff from him. He's one of the speakers. He's got a booth. I'll have whatever Wednesdays We Talk Weird stickers I have laying around. I'm going to bring those. And if I get real creative Friday night, I may throw some merch together. So if you're coming out to the Chicago Paranormal Convention, Saturday, October 8th, noon to 6 p.m., bring some cash because there may be limited edition on Wednesdays We Talk Weird merch.
Wow.
You can get your very own on Wednesdays We Talk Weird red solo cup, or maybe a Wednesdays We Talk Weird 3-ring binder, or whatever I can throw together. So
the official on Wednesdays We Talk Weird napkin.
Yes, cocktail napkin. Or maybe I'll get some fucking Trojans and throw a sticker on there.
There you go.
The official on Wednesdays We Talk Weird prophylactic. So I wanted to pimp that real quick. Now I'll be there for a couple hours. I'm just filming his thing and then bouncing, because that night I have Cam FDM, which also, if you're in Chicago and you're going to see Cam FDM, see me at the show. So I'll probably end up wearing one of our shirts to that. What else? Oh, I started reading The Ancient Giants Who Ruled America, subtitle The Mystic Skeletons and the Great Smithsonian Cover-Up, by Richard J. Dewhurst. And I do believe that I know we never did an official giant show.
No.
We did some giant content for the Arizona on Wednesdays We Talk Weird, and also in the Colorado one, which is dropping very, very soon.
Today.
Yes, that's right, today. So the Giants thing has been like it's something I'm absolutely fascinated by, and this book is like blowing my mind every other chapter. So I think we're fast approaching that critical point where we have to do an official giant show.
A giant show. Yeah. It's coming. I understand. Wow. Paddle, your life is so interesting. You're like, I went and I filmed this Soul Sucker movie, and then I went into church.
Right. And I did the streaming service for the fucking take another shot for the church my kid goes to school to. Yeah. So yeah, that's it. And then and also new episode of Y2K Movies this week. We talk about Blonde, the 2022 NC-17 Marilyn Monroe movie that just hit Netflix. So
you've been busy.
Yeah,
damn,
it's starting to wear down. I
need to catch up.
I need to get rid of one of my kids. I think I got too many kids or too many dogs or something. Something's got to go around here. I don't have enough gas in the tank like I used to.
I think you're doing a fantastic job at it.
But you had a pretty busy weekend too. You were out and about, being the giving the speeches and saying the words and getting the ovations and whatnot,
doing the things. Yeah, I went to I was at the Mysticon at the Ravenswood Library in West Virginia. Fun fact about it, I was one of the speakers, and it was the very first time that I got to talk about the Mothman in West Virginia.
Wow.
I know, it's crazy that's taken this long. But yeah, I did. I got to, give a talk about the Mothman. It was interesting because, if you guys listen to the show, we don't make very kid-friendly content. I'm not very kid-friendly. Kids are cool and all, but this was at a library. So, and Anne had to keep reminding me that I was at a library surrounded by children. But I did well. And actually about halfway through it, at first I was like, I'm intimidated by all these children. But eventually, I was outside at one point smoking a cigarette because, and I saw some weird kids standing out there, and I saw myself, and I was like, damn, man, this is kind of cool, actually. So that was neat. We did have a couple of people, of course, you go to these things, people share their experiences with you.
Yeah, you're a magnet for that shit.
Fucking people love to talk to me about things, and for a very long time, too long. But that's okay. Right. Sometimes, but no, people did share some really fascinating stories. There was a gentleman that shared that he had lost his 2-year-old son. But before, his son died, he had this little golf ball, this little putting kit, right, that he used to, hit around the house or whatever. And he said that that golf ball for a long time would just move on its own. And even to this day, and he's a much older gentleman. Even to this day, still has that same golf ball. And that was neat. That was a cool story. So one of my friends makes stuff with resin and we sell it on the table, right?
Yeah.
And she's been making a lot. So the first time we ever had any of this stuff was at with Bull, and it did great. It all sold out and shit. I mean, it was fantastic. So she's made more. So she makes planchettes mostly. And she's also been making like these mini Ouija boards, like these mini spirit boards. And the first time she only made two for this event because she didn't really like them. They're so small, they're kind of hard to use. But she makes mini planchettes also, which would go with them. Well, anyway, so they both sold out, but one of the people that bought them it was a girl. She was no younger than 12, but no older than 14. And it was kind of really wholesome because she, tells us she wanted to buy it. And I was kind of joking with her and I was like, well, don't go summoning any demons now, And she's like, well, I'm buying it because my dad died in our house 2 years ago and I want to try to contact him. And I don't know if she's going to be able to contact her dad or not, but the fact that like she's got that comfort knowing that she can try, I felt pretty good about that. So but it was good. It was a successful event, a good weekend. I liked it. And now I think I'm done with events for the rest of the year, except you're going to see me at CryptidCon. I will physically be there, not vending, not speaking, just there to party. And other than that, though, I am finishing this goddamn documentary if it kills me. So that's going to be my winter. But yeah, it was good. That's what I did this weekend.
Yeah, I have to believe the universe is I'm kind of having a minute right now with the filmmaking thing, and you've known me long enough to kind of it comes in spurts.
Sure.
Pause for laughter. But yeah, I mean, I got to think that I'm kind of hopefully the reason that this is kind of ramping up for me right now is so that it'll get my engine purring so that I can turn around and help you with yours when you're ready. So
yeah, by all means, yeah, I will take it.
Let's fucking do it. Speaking of which, if you're a Patreon member, is that cool? Are we gonna do that?
Yeah.
Yes. So the 48-hour film that I did, the non 48-hour cut, the cleaned up, really awesome cut of Recipe for Oblivion will be available on the Patreon for a couple weeks before it's made public to the rest of the universe.
It's probably available now as we speak. So definitely go subscribe to the Patreon as well as, like Pato said, the newest episode of Weird World, the monthly exclusive show that we do. This month is about Colorado. So
Colorado.
Want to hear about Colorado and all the weird things in it? We talk about it. So that'll be fun. Craig, how was your weekend? I know we're just talking away.
Boy, compared to you guys, pretty damn boring. Let's see, what did I do? I went on a date.
Ooh.
And I went to a car show.
Oh, well, did you have a good time?
I had a good time, but that was and preparing, in a week and a half is my Texas Bigfoot conference. So working on that stuff, but
sure.
Where'd you guys go on the date?
We went to the car show.
Oh, there you
She met me at the car show, and then we went to eat dinner at an Italian restaurant that I just saw it was nearby where the car show was, called the Tuscan Pig Italian Diner.
Oh.
And it was very tasty.
Oh, good.
I did not eat any pig. I had chicken parm, and it was very, very good.
Do you think there's going to be a second date?
I think it's probably more of a friend deal than a date deal.
Sure. Wow, throwing that one back, huh? Sometimes you got to do that, right? It's catch and release.
It depends what your motive is for dating is.
Sure.
I'm looking for my person.
Yeah.
So if date number one is not my person, then they're probably not going to be my person on date number two either.
Well, fair enough.
You're a really good dude. That's a very that's very cool. That's very good.
Well, I know plenty of guys, friends that have Oh, well, what the hell? This isn't, this is at least R-rated, your show, correct?
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah, please, by all
Yeah,
means.
no, that are just out to get laid. And, that's not necessarily my point in going out on a date. So
Right.
if there's no spark there, then there's no sense in wasting either person's time.
Very true. That's very true. That's one thing. People think that you should settle for things that are comfortable or practical or whatever. I don't believe in that. I believe that you should go for things that make you hot and
Exactly.
butterflies. And somebody said that to me recently. They were like, oh well, you could just get with anybody that's got money and you'd be set. And what I'm like, yeah, but money doesn't buy the butterflies. It just doesn't work that way. I wish it did. But
Well,
yeah,
there's always OnlyFans.
there is always OnlyFans, and I would probably do very well financially on OnlyFans.
See, there you
Bet-
go.
better than I do with the podcast. Um, anyway, yeah, I don't have any news this week, which is I know not exciting. I'm still getting over being sick because not enough people sent me their $5 last week. So if you want to help me get over being sick, then you need to send me $5 on either Cash App or Venmo or PayPal or Facebook Pay or whatever it is that you use. But that's
$5 will make you better, huh?
$5 will make me feel better. If every single person listening to the show sends me $5, then I will feel significantly better. Physically, of course. I can nothing can help the emotional damage. That's just there and permanent. Anyway. Craig, who are you? Who the heck are you? Why should people care about who you are? Let's tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, I don't think anybody cares about who I am anyway. But well, I am a person that as a kid I was interested in strange things, and started off with a creature that was seen here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Of course, when I tell you when it happened, it's going to make me sound really old, but in 1969, you remember that, don't you, Ashley?
Oh yeah, of
1969.
course. Yeah, I remember every 69 I've ever had.
Oh, I bet you do. You were negative how many?
That's a good question. 21, negative 21. I could negatively drink at that age.
You could negatively drink
Yeah.
in that year. Well, I was 9 years old that year, and there was a creature that was called the Lake Worth Monster that was seen that summer by actually hundreds of people out at a lake that is northwest of downtown Fort Worth. Not very far, 20 minutes away, and it was on the front page of the local newspaper on July 10th and July 11th. Which was, 10 days before we landed on the moon. And the big story in the paper was about this monster that was seen, a creature, out at the local lake. But like I said, hundreds of people, law enforcement, all branches of people. That place at that time was just like a lover's lane hangout that the kids would go to make out and drink. It's now a nature center that's owned by the city, and I helped the city organize the Lake Worth Monster Bash that is now done every 5 years. But so that got me started. I saw The Legend of Boggy Creek a couple years later when it came out in its original national distribution run in 1973, and then I was in Boy Scouts in my teens. And so, Bigfoot was always kind of on my mind, out camping in the woods and stuff. But it kind of faded away until Memorial Day, 1994, May 30th, when I had gone with a group of people out to New Orleans for Memorial Day weekend. My youngest brother being one of them, but we had a total of 12 people. So we took 5 cars out there. Being pre GPS or Google Maps or anything, you just kind of laid out a road map and picked what looked like the shortest route. And which isn't that the best? Well, isn't that the best way to travel, really?
Oh yeah, definitely. Just
I
with, well,
mean,
yeah.
unless you're going to see, unless you're driving to California, you want to go see Hoover Dam and the Grand Canyon or something. But, it just mystifies me. Like I'm looking on Google Maps and it has a turnoff that says 38 minutes slower. Who the hell takes that 38 minutes slower route? Anybody?
So someone that
Because
doesn't have an iPass or doesn't want to pay tolls or
because
something.
I'm not ever going to do it. I mean,
Right, right.
I think that's how Jeepers Creepers, the movie happened, isn't it? Or Wrong Turn, certainly.
When
You know,
GPS first came out, we used to, I mean, that was what, I was starting to be driving age, and we would go ride around. And one of my friends had a GPS, and what we would do is we would go out to an area that we knew was rural first. We'd get there, and then we'd just go and get completely lost, and then you could use the GPS and just track it back home and get back home every time. But we ended up in some very scary places. So
yeah, I think that happened to Hansel and Gretel.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, their breadcrumbs got eaten by birds or something, and then they ended up in the witch's oven.
They could have benefited from GPS.
Yes, they sure should have. That maybe somebody should have invented a GPS instead of TomTom or something, called it breadcrumbs.
Oh, that would have been a great idea.
Wouldn't it?
Missed opportunity.
I'm telling you. I'm telling you. But anyway, so we get to New Orleans. By the time we're driving through central Louisiana, it's mid-morning because we left at about 5:30 in the morning from Dallas. And so we get there, we have a great time all weekend. But when Monday comes around, which was Memorial Day, like I said, we had 5 different cars. So everybody, took off at a different time because they had different times they needed to be back home. Well, it so happened that my vehicle with my girlfriend and a girl who lived in the same building as me, we were the last ones to leave. We stretched it out to leave till about 9 o'clock that Monday night. And the only reason we left Monday was because my neighbor, she had to be at work Tuesday morning. So she was going to sleep in the car all night. So we set out from New Orleans and swing around Baton Rouge and start heading towards Shreveport. And now this, highway, those, did you hear my air quotes? Highway.
Yeah.
It was pitch dark now, and it was an unlit road out in the middle of nowhere. There was no traffic on it or anything. So we're just cruising along. I had a little soft top SUV back in those days, and so I had the top rolled up because it was May 30th. The weather was really nice, and as we're driving, we are in an area where it's really swampy on the left side of the road, and on the right side of the road there was just a tree line about 20, 25, 30 feet out. And so as we're driving up this way, in my headlights we see an upright figure off to the right of the road, no more than 20 feet from the edge of the road. And as we get closer, we notice that it's, an upright figure on 2 legs. It is walking parallel to the road. It's covered with hair and looks to be gray in my headlights.
Wow.
So, I don't know, saw it maybe for 7 or 8 seconds in the headlights. But, it was definitely an animate object. It was not, it was not a burned out tree stump. It was not, a horse or a cow or a hunter in a ghillie suit or some guy in a gorilla costume, but it was unmistakably, what I can only say was a Bigfoot.
Wow.
So as we passed it, my girlfriend and I looked at each other and simultaneously said, "Did you just see what I just saw?" And we agreed that we had just both seen this. And I said, "Well, we've got to stop."
Okay.
I don't know what I wanted to do.
Sure.
That's a hint that she vehemently disagreed with stopping. As a matter of fact, since it's your show, she said, "Fuck no, we're not stopping." So we kept going. pretty soon we rolled into a small town called Bunkie, Bunkie, Louisiana. And it was about 11:30 at night on a Monday night on a holiday, and there was nothing open, nobody out, no lights on, no nothing. So we drove through town, and on the way out of town, there was a Methodist church on the right-hand side that had a parking lot and had a light on a pole. So we pulled in that parking lot to talk about, what we had seen and discuss it. And my friend, she was still asleep in the back seat. She never even woke up, but we discussed it for 10 or 15 minutes, then got back on the road because we had to be back, in Dallas that morning for my friend to go to work. So once we got on the road, I don't really remember talking about it. And I know when we got back home, we didn't really talk about it to anybody. And you young people are going to find this surprising. It was still 3 years before this. 3 years after this, before I got internet access. So in the summer of 97, I got internet access, got on the internet, and the first thing I looked up was Bigfoot. And, there was, compared to now, there was nothing on the internet back then. There were some forums and message boards, bulletin boards and stuff. And so I, started perusing that stuff. And
what year was that? I'm sorry, just for reference, because
1997.
I'm 10 years older than Asher's. I'm in my 40s.
Okay.
So I can appreciate the early internet stories about how sparse it was and
Right.
how we still kind of instinctively tried to use it to reach out and find other weirdos. I think that's been going on since as soon as two people plug computers in and we realized we used to talk to other people, the people that were using it were kind of the nerd because computers weren't a normal thing.
Right. It's kind of a weirdo beacon,
It definitely was. So
get out there and let your freak flag fly.
Yeah.
So I started talking to these people and telling my story, and and encountered a guy that lived close by that had been involved with another Bigfoot research organization, and he was unhappy with the way things were going there. So he and I started out a Bigfoot research organization, the Texas Bigfoot Research Center. And this went live actually on June 26, 1999. We had a website, and people started sending in their encounters, and people started inquiring about wanting to get involved with what we were doing. And so we, took off and started, investigating these sightings and going out to where they occurred and interviewing the witnesses and so immersed ourselves into that. We like I said, met a lot of people on the internet and found out about there was a conference in Ohio, and the Ohio Bigfoot Conference. I don't know if you've ever been, but I went to the first one I went to was in 2000. It actually started in 1989. And so I went to that and met a lot of people in person and networked and felt welcomed among the other weirdos, and got my wheels turning as far as there's nothing like this going on in Texas. I bet that I could do something like this. And so I started planning it. And at the time, my folks had a couple years previously bought a bed and breakfast here in Jefferson, Texas. And my mom was on the events committee for the Bed and Breakfast Association. So I figured might as well do it here. I've got some resources that I can use. And it just so happened that this is, a prime area, that there's a history of sightings in the area. Caddo Lake, which is the only natural lake in the state of Texas, is 15 minutes away. And it's, a spooky lake with cypress trees and Spanish moss and fog and mist rising off the lake in the morning and at night. So it's, it's kind of creepy. And So that's what I started doing. I went back the next year I went to Ohio for many, many years. Um, the last time I went was 2014, though. I haven't been back in a while.
Well, of course not, but you have to because I'm here. So
Yeah. Do you go to it?
I only been to the newest one that they've done, the Hocking Hills
Oh,
Bigfoot
the Hocking
Festival.
Hills with B Mills is great.
Yeah.
I
I went
love
to that
her.
one this year. But I definitely want to go to Salt Fork. Is the big one that they do.
Yeah.
We just
You should
haven't.
come to Texas.
I would love to come to Texas. Actually, I really
Okay.
would. Everybody,
You,
not everybody, but a lot of people seem to be there.
you've got a little less than 2 weeks to plan your trip. So
I know I got to figure it out, right?
you better get on it.
I know. All right, Craig. So you're online. You're connecting with weirdos. You're going to weird places like Ohio. Chasing this Bigfoot lore. What next? What happened next?
Well, so I planned the details for my first conference, which was September 15th, 2001, only 4 days after 9/11.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. So I had speakers that were unable to fly in, but we still pulled it off. And we had about 135 people that came that day, 4 days after 9/11, to the first Texas Bigfoot conference. And it was a big success. So
Wow.
continued doing it. And just last year was my 20th anniversary event. And so the next one is on the 15th. So what's today? The 3rd. So I guess 12 days away, the 2022 version of the Texas Bigfoot Conference will be happening here in Jefferson, Texas, with Adam Davis, Lauren Coleman, Lyle Blackburn, Ken Gerhard, Shelley Covington Montana, and Sibylla Irwin. So we'll be covering all aspects of Bigfootery, and lots of vendors, lots of people. Lyle will actually, you met Lyle at
Mothman.
Mothman, right?
Yeah. Finally. Yeah.
Yeah. His new book just came out,
Yep.
Texas Bigfoot, that I wrote the forward for. It's a book I should have written years ago, but I'm a procrastinator. And couldn't ask for a better author to write it than Lyle anyway. But
Sure.
I did contribute the forward, and so he'll be signing and selling copies of that at the Texas Bigfoot Conference. And if somebody begs really, 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 really proficiently, I will go ahead and sign the book as well, since I wrote the forward. But
Are you talking hands and knees bag or?
Yeah, I like that Joan Jett song.
I think that's fantastic.
You know the line I'm talking about?
I don't. No, I'm too young. I'm sorry.
You're too young to know Joan Jett? Oh
I am.
no.
Yeah.
Well, the line is appropriate for your show. Not many
Okay.
of them, but the line in her song is begging on my knees, baby, won't you please run your fingers through my hair.
Oh. Okay. All right.
So that will give you a visual.
And that's what it's going to take to get your autograph on this.
I'm probably just shy of that. Just shy of that. But so I've got that. I'm debuting an inaugural event this year, the Texas UFO Con. So I'm going to have a UFO convention here in Jefferson on
Ooh.
November 19th, where I'm imploring people to dress up as their favorite alien, illegal or otherwise.
Stop.
And then rolling around, not but 3 weeks after that, is my second annual Texas Bigfoot Film Festival.
Yeah.
And last year was cram packed with 5 films that we screened, including Eduardo Sanchez's Exist, which in my opinion is the finest Bigfoot movie ever made. And Ed was here to screen it himself and answer questions and talked about the making of the movie and all of that. And it was really exciting. And this year we're screening 7 films starting at 10 in the morning. And the last film should finish airing at about 2 a.m. So it's going to be a rather long day, a action-packed day with screening, like I said, 7 films. The last film is up you guys' alley. It is Night of the Demon, which it's a newly released, cleaned up version.
Yeah,
that Severin Films is working with us. They're supplying lots of merch, so we're going to have Night of the Demon merch and their full support to screen that. So we've got all kinds of movies, family friendly, from Letters from the Big Man and The Dark Divide, which was based on Robert Michael Pyle's book, Where Bigfoot Walks, The Dark Divide. And other films. We've got my good buddy from California, Scott Harriet, who's going to be screening his film, Unverified. I've got Brett and Jill from Oregon that are going to be filming. I'm screening their it's such a long title, I can't remember it.
Eduardo Sanchez is the director also of Blair Witch Project.
Yes, he is. He's an awesome guy.
He made a pretty good alien abduction movie too, where a group of friends are abducted and they come back and they go back to the spot where it happened to try to get revenge. And it's got some of the Blair Witch guys in it, which is just proves that movie wasn't fucking real if you're still on the fence about it. But yeah,
but they are let me see. Their film is actually called A Flash of Beauty, Bigfoot Revealed. That one that Brett and Jill are screening, and Lyle is going to be screening Primal Rage. Jeff Stewart and David Ford are screening Man versus Bigfoot. So that may be all 7. I don't know. There's 7 of them. So it's going to be a long day. We got a catered dinner break in the evening, and Adam Larson, who runs the Bigfoot Film Appreciation Circle Facebook page, is going to be there. He's actually going to introduce Letters from the Big Man, and we have Christopher Munch. No, that's not the one. Let's see. I'm trying to remember. There's so many films. I'm trying to keep them straight.
I'll just say Night of the Demon itself is a treat. And listen, you don't forget a Girl Scout being beat with another Girl Scout. So
nor do you forget the biker that goes to take a leak and has his member ripped off.
Yeah, it's a very memorable
member. It's a memorable member. But so we're gonna have a discussion. Dave Coleman is the MC. He wrote the book Bigfoot Filmography and is working on a revised edition of that. And so he and Adam are going to have a discussion after dinner about Bigfoot in film. Talking about all kinds of Bigfoot films and the good, bad, and the ugly, I imagine. So it's going to be a really cool event. It was last year. It was cool to hang out with Eduardo. I mean, he had actually come to my event in 2012 and had the world premiere of the trailer for Exist.
Very cool.
But we're talking about him coming back next year to the festival. So may have him screen his favorite Bigfoot movie that is not his own, and even thinking about doing a midnight Blair Witch screening with him in attendance. So that should be really cool.
No, that sounds really exciting. So is this a new event, this film festival? Was last year a new one?
Yeah, last year I had it last year. It was on December 11th, which is, the reason that we picked that date is that was smack dab in the middle of Eduardo's Christmas break to spend with his family. He takes off from Thanksgiving to Christmas, and that date was right in the middle. So it just kind of rolled over to this year. I was in talks with Bobcat Goldthwait
Ooh.
about him coming to screen Willow Creek, and initially he was on board with it, which he and I conversed by email last year, even before last year's festival, and I told him about it and invited him to come screen Willow Creek, and he was really on board with it, wanted to round up the whole cast to bring them. But then after that, I never got a reply to any of the follow-up emails I sent him, and I didn't have a phone number or anything. So it just kind of fell apart for screening it this year. So
what's your take on that movie? Because that is probably one of my favorite Bigfoot films. Now, I'm not as fluent in the genre as I could be, but that is such a haunting movie. I mean, that scene in the tent is something that should be taught in film school, because it's so amazing. And then the ending with the Forest Bride thing, where like Bigfoot's like collecting women just to fucking rape or whatever, is like, what?
Yeah, that was really a mind, I don't even know what to say, a mind blower at the end, because it's certainly the best Bigfoot movie that Bigfoot is not even shown in the movie.
What's your take on that, though? Because I mean, you're obviously a little bit of a Bigfoot expert. Is that something that you see repeated in the folklore, or did he just take like a random kind of one-off or bit of story and just make it kind of the for shock value, like the that was the thing. That's what Bigfoot's doing out there, is Bigfoot wants cheerleaders and
well, who doesn't?
Right, exactly. No, I mean, I'm not saying I disagree with him. I'm just saying, like, it's not something that you see kind of. I mean, there's a little bit of that. There's some other movie that's like Bigfoot and a chick on an island together. That I remember.
There was one called Sweet Prudence that was a Bigfoot, like soft porn. It wasn't, but there in the Native American lore and legends, there were tales of, the whatever, I don't know, politically correct, the squaws or whatever, the women sometimes would disappear and, supposedly be stolen by, they thought of them as just another tribe that lived in the woods. That not necessarily that they were animals, but they were another tribe, and they made offerings to them, left out food and fruits and vegetables, so they wouldn't come and raid their area. I wouldn't call it a reservation, just where they lived, and so there's legends going back of that even children disappearing, and so it's not really something that's explored in the modern Bigfoot films, other than that. I mean, it just really shocked me, because that scene is a 20-minute plus, one shot, one camera, one shot, there's no cuts or anything.
Right.
It's amazing, because you definitely feel the tension there, and when you have something that's coming up and pushing in the side of your tent and vocalizing right outside, that's just creepy as shit.
Yeah.
The funny thing about it is that Bobcat did most of those vocalizations himself.
Yeah.
That were made in that movie. But I saw it in 2013 at a film festival here in the Dallas area, and he was there in attendance. I actually gave him what was my best Bigfoot track cast. It wasn't from here, but it was from the Pacific Northwest, because he supposedly is really into Bigfoot now. I don't know. That track cast may be a doorstop now at his house, but
Sure.
I presented that to him, and Lyle and Nick Redfern, we were there because I had gotten a good amount of tickets to go to this film festival to view the film. And so we met Bobcat there, and then he did a question and answer, and I took, and the question and answer after the film, at that time I told him that, I thought it was the best Bigfoot film ever, and until I saw Exist the next year. But it's certainly the best Bigfoot movie that Bigfoot is not shown in it. And it's really, like Pat was saying, that final, that scene, is just so creepy because, especially if you've been out on a Bigfoot outing or overnight expedition or whatever, just, thinking that, you may feel safe in a tent, but, really there's not much there to protect you from the outside elements, whether they be weather or, or monster. So, it's really a creepy film. It's a funny film too. I mean, people don't think of Bobcat as a movie director, but he's put out some quality films.
Oh yeah, he has. He's got.
And yeah, the one I can't think of the name of it, where the guy just hasn't had enough, and
with Bob Odenkirk, where he loses it. Yeah, I can't remember the name of that one, but he did Shakes the Clown. He did World's Greatest Dad with Robin Williams.
Yeah.
And then that Bob Odenkirk one where he loses his shit. It's kind of like Falling Down a little bit.
Yeah, it's kind of like Falling Down.
Yeah.
There's, I don't know if you've seen it, but there's a new film like that with Bob Odenkirk.
Oh, Mr. Nobody.
Yeah, Nobody.
Nobody.
Man, and I didn't have big hopes for that, but that film kicked fucking ass.
Well, it was written by the John Wick writer, which you could tell it's kind of like a John Wick type movie.
Right.
But yeah, that one, they were trying to turn that into a franchise, and hopefully they do it, because I love Bob Odenkirk. He's a Chicago actor. He did lots of Second City, which is what I went to over here, and I love him, and the fact that he did an action movie like that was just so badass. And that they brought that to him, and they said, you get a lot of these like older actors now that are doing these like surprising action movies, kind of like these John Wicks or like the Takens with Liam Neeson. And they came to Odenkirk and said, hey, we want to do this with you. And they read him that opening scene where he's all bloodied up and, smoking the cigarette, and they're seeing, you did this, and there's this many dead bodies and blah, blah, blah. And, who the fuck are you? I'm nobody. And then that was it. And they made it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a great flick. I mean, like, I watched it twice the same weekend. I liked it so much. I mean, it was just I was really surprised by the film, for sure. I didn't, I remember when it came out in theaters, and I was like, oh, that looks like it might be cool, but it was until I saw it, come across, looking through Hulu or whatever, I was like, oh, okay, I'll watch that.
Are
Are
you passionate about film, Craig? Is that something that kind of is another? I mean, aside from obviously the Bigfoot deal, I mean, is film something you're really interested in?
Well, yeah, I rate films whether I need to see them at the theater or not.
Sure.
If it's a big action movie or a new Godzilla or King Kong movie, I have to go see it in IMAX, and
oh yeah,
3D if possible. But chick flicks, I can wait to see those on TV at home. I don't have to see a chick flick unless it's a date, and you gotta suck it up to. I bet Ashley, I bet you're not necessarily into chick flicks.
Oh no. If I'm going on a movie date, it's a horror movie.
Okay.
Or it's
That
like
was
Godzilla. Yeah.
that was my favorite part
Black
about.
Phone, The Imitation, Smile,
Yeah.
something like that.
Exactly. A Halloween Ends is coming out, and I'm looking for a date
Yeah.
for it, and I haven't found one yet. I don't know. But
That was my favorite part of dating was when you would get to know you know, I'd tell a girl like I will sit there and I will see anything you want to see. What do you want to take me to see? And like, you know, I remember I saw Knights and Rodanthe in the theater, which was the from the Nicholas Sparks book about horses on a fucking beach and Richard Gere dies in a mudslide. I was just
oh my god.
like, you know, I'm gonna get high in the parking lot before I go in, but like, yeah, I like that. I like having someone like show me your world. Like I know what I
Oh
watch. I
yeah,
know what I like.
you learn a lot about somebody by letting them pick the movie.
Yeah, I'll let you pick the movie because I want to get to know you, you know, and you can get to know me by how I react to it, but I'll let you do that. Because if I've had too many times where like I bring girls to movies and it's over before it begins because some people don't like horror, some people you don't have the same sense of humor.
Right.
I'm more malleable with my taste in film because I love it so much that I'll sit through fucking anything, you know. So yeah, I think it's funny when they pick the romantic comedies or the just garbage.
Yeah, you made me watch Colossal, so that told me a lot about you. Um,
Colossal, that's the one where what's her name dreamed, and in her dreams she would turn into a kaiju.
Yeah. Anne Hathaway.
Anne
Yeah.
Hathaway,
Anne
yeah,
Hathaway.
turns into a
I
kaiju.
thought that was a pretty cool flick.
Yeah.
I mean, it was very novel. I mean, you know,
We did it. Pat Owen does this other show, Y2K Movies, and I was a guest on it. We did an Anne Hathaway double feature. Well, kind of, but one of the movies was Colossal, and Pat O tells me it's about Anne Hathaway turning into a kaiju. Listen, the addiction part of it was cool. The kaiju part of it was cool. They should not have been together.
It's more about alcoholics than
Yeah.
it's about kaiju, but it makes the alcoholic storyline a little bit more palatable because
Yeah,
you're watching her and Jason Sudeikis turn into giant monsters and fighting in South Korea.
Yeah.
yeah, that's a hell of a bender, isn't it? When you turn into a kaiju.
Yeah.
It happens to the best of us, right? Judge not lest you be judged.
Going back to Bobcat Goldthwait, if you saw One Crazy Summer, if you saw that, he was in a Godzilla suit and he trampled a miniature cityscape.
Oh God. I'm a big kaiju fan. Are you big into kaiju? You know, I noticed that a lot of people in the cryptid community, they are.
Oh yeah, they normally come out right around my birthday in March, and so I always, as a matter of fact, when was it last year? I rented the whole theater, had 26 people there for Godzilla versus Kong, and had a screening of that and my birthday party in the theater.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, you should have invited me to that, Craig. Jeez.
Well, would you come to Texas?
I would. Yeah. For that. Yeah.
Well, come to Texas and I will take you to go see Halloween Ends, okay. Black Phone, The Invitation, Smile. All weekend. One weekend of all four of those.
We'll go see all of them, and then we'll.
Have you seen any of them yet?
No, I haven't seen any of them yet.
Okay, there you go.
Wow. Let's talk about. I of course, obviously, I want to talk about Cryptomundo. Can we do that?
Sure.
I definitely want to talk about it. So you ended up creating this website,
right?
You know, because and I'm assuming it's because you know you kind of found your weird people online.
Right.
I'm guessing that's the inspiration. I do you know that I woke up every morning and checked this website every day for like 4 years straight.
Wow. And knowing that I'm the creator, you should definitely want to come and go to the movies with me.
I might have to. Yeah.
Yeah. I you know, I was into all sorts of cryptids, not just Bigfoot. Bigfoot is the only one that I investigated.
Sure.
But, you know, from when I was a kid, like I said, I was into weird shit, you know, weird sea monsters and, you know, UFOs and, you know, all kinds of weird shit like that. So I've always been interested in the subject. And I'm kind of an idea man. My youngest brother was my partner. And we came up with, you know, and blogs were very new back then. That wasn't blogs weren't, everybody and their brother didn't have a blog then. And there were, and it was more of a community deal than a blog deal, like you said, finding your weirdos, because there were other communities kind of like that. I'm trying to remember the name of them. There were a couple of them that were based on pets, like a dog one and a cat one. It was kind of like a community and a blog, and
Yeah.
and that's kind of what we decided to create with cryptids, and spent a lot of money developing the site, doing the artwork for the site, and it went online, I believe, September 27th, 2005. The very first post was mine, and it was about the ivory-billed woodpecker.
Oh.
And myself and Lauren Coleman and John Kirk and Rick Dole, a Bigfooter, and other people that were considered experts in the field. We all contributed articles and original writings and stuff, and it became really big. At one point, there was a site out there that would rank I think it was called Rank My Blog or something like that.
Okay.
And at the time, Cryptomundo was, I'm trying to remember exactly what the number was. I think it was like 4,495.
Wow.
Most popular website in the world.
Oh wow. Yeah. So it did.
Which I'm talking,
it did
like Yahoo, and it was number one. I'm talking up. But there were billions of websites,
right.
So it was pretty cool, and it made fairly good money for a while, advertising revenue.
Sure.
But it's just the advertising revenue isn't there anymore.
Right.
And so I really don't update the site. It's still there. I pay for the hosting, and it's still there as a reference resource.
Mm-hmm.
But I have a Cryptomundo Facebook page, and that's generally where I post new stuff. But
I'm sure you could find contributors. I mean, you have the brand. You have one of the most noteworthy brands in the game to revitalize it. Sure. And then just have different contributors take over. I mean, websites are still a thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You're right. They are still a thing. The site needs to be, I need to, really sit down and look at it. I've had people over the years that have offered to buy it, and it wasn't for sale at those times. I mean, at one time the site itself and the domain was valued at $100,000. And
I wouldn't sell it, but I mean,
well, true. I had people, as recently as the last couple of years offered me $20,000 for the site and the domain, and I've held off. I need to, devote resources to it, look at, redesigning it, redeveloping it, upgrading the technology. And, that is something that is there to be done to it. It is, it's just passed up 17 years old, which, I guess for a blog is pretty old.
It's pretty good. Well, I'd contribute if you ever wanted to resurrect it.
Number one in the game. I mean, dude, that's, I don't think you can, hey, stuff, there's peaks and valleys, right? Sometimes you're too ahead of the curve. Sometimes you're too ahead of your time, but yeah, I would fucking die with that brand. Yeah. You know what I mean? And just, hey, if you want to get someone in there to kind of, kick some life into it and do some of the legwork, fine. But you sit on that IP until fucking,
oh yeah,
I put that shit on T-shirts and just beer cozies.
And I do still have T-shirts. I only ever had one T-shirt made, and one of Ashley's, our mutual friends, Erie Eric Fargiorgio
Oh yeah.
did my logo for it. And
Really? I had
still,
no idea.
I'll text you the shirt.
That'd be awesome.
And it's actually the picture I have of it is Carrie wearing the shirt.
Oh my God.
Well, I have
Can I
other
buy
people.
one?
Yeah, I gotta see. I'm not sure what sizes I have left but let me look at. Let me just. I know this is very interesting for people as I'm
It is.
scrolling through some pictures.
Well, I'll say we do all our merch through T-Shirt Spring, and one of the nice things about it is that we can slap our logo on stuff. We don't have, because I played in bands in my 20s, so I know what it was like. You'd have to order a run of T-shirts, then you got to mail them out, and you got to do the mail order thing. And contrary to what they say, mail order is not fun.
No,
What's nice about T-Shirt Spring is they take a little bit bigger of a cut, but you don't have to do any of that yourself. It's print on demand.
Yeah.
So you just you go into the store and you give them the logo, give them the artwork, and then you give your customer base a link. And when they go to buy it, they buy it all through the website. So you can have greater sizes, you have greater color options if they want a white shirt, if they want a black shirt, if they want an orange shirt, whatever.
yeah, and I actually use Bonfire for my
Oh, okay.
for my conference stuff. So I've got the original logo, but I still have a bunch of T-shirts that I bought. But I need to go and do that where I don't have to put out the money for it, and
Have it available, yeah. Because we still have to buy, we still have to buy stock for conferences, and that's just something I would never buy it through Teespring for my stock because I'm not going to pay retail for it. But it is nice for the people that you don't see at the conferences, right? But they still want to feel involved. So
sure.
So with all the impressive numbers that the website was doing, was there anything that came out? Was there any like news or anything that really made the website boom, or was it just kind of a slow and steady crawl?
Well, there was the Georgia Bigfoot body hoax of 2000 that crashed the website for like a week.
Yeah.
With traffic. I mean, we would redo the website, upgrade the servers, put it back online, and it would immediately go down again. It took many thousands of dollars and lots of work and lots of upgrades. And we were the web host back then was like where we were hosting was like $600 a month.
Wow.
Be able to handle the traffic that was generated by that. A year before that, a big deal was a lawsuit that was happened because of Cryptomundo and a certain Bigfoot video that was shared with me, and I posted it on the website, and I got Matt Moneymaker threatened to sue me, and so unfortunately unfortunately for him, fortunately for me, he posted publicly that he was going to sue me next week. That generally when you're going to sue somebody, you don't want to give them advance notice.
Yeah.
He posted like on a Friday that next Tuesday I'm going to sue him.
Yeah.
He's going to lose everything, his job, his house, his car, his wife. Now he could have had the wife, but anyway, so like I said, my youngest brother is who I developed the site with, and so we hired an attorney in California where Bat lived, and an entertainment attorney who was very, very expensive, unfortunately, like $475 an hour.
Ooh.
Intellectual right attorney, and the lawsuit ended up, and Matt and I have made up now. It's just something that happened 15 years ago.
Sure.
And his dad is a prominent Los Angeles bankruptcy attorney, and while this wasn't a bankruptcy suit, his dad represented him for free. Mm-hmm. And my attorney was $4.75 an hour. So we got to a point, basically a stalemate, that my younger brother, who was very wealthy, got to a point where enough was enough, and it was basically dismissed with prejudice, and where nobody, I guess nobody admitted fault, and but it racked up a bill of $40,000
Oof.
over a damn Bigfoot video, and it was actually, it made news on a legal website that was On Point News. That I don't think the website's not there anymore, but I do have the all the court documents, PDFs saved of Craig Woolheater and Cryptomundo versus Matt Moneymaker et al. So that was a big deal over the supposed pancake video of
Yeah.
juvenile Bigfoot eating pancakes on a property in northern Kentucky.
Yep.
And so we had that. It was interesting because that was in 2007, and then I ran into Matt in 2009 at a Yakima Bigfoot event, Yakima, Washington, and things were pretty cool then. But since then, we've talked and hung out. And as a matter of fact, I hung out when we went to. I went and filmed an episode of Finding Bigfoot where we recreated my sighting. That was in early 2014. And so went and filmed that in central Louisiana. Hung out with the guys. I was, actually stayed there for about 3 nights overnight in the hotel where they were at, and hung out with them. And an interesting story is we went to a Cajun seafood place, but it was just the crew and Cliff and Bobo. And we were there, and the wait staff came over and pulled Bobo aside. And apparently somebody, I don't know which family it was involved with the show, but the Duck Dynasty, one of the families was there in a private dining room at the restaurant. So they didn't have to deal with the public, I guess, but they asked for Bobo to come back to their private dining room because the kids were fans of the show and wanted to meet him or whatever. And, people were in the restaurant themselves were coming up and asking Bobo, and Cliff too, but Cliff is a little more low key than Bobo. And they ended up getting pissed off because they waited like 45 minutes and he didn't show, and they left.
No.
But the thing is, they were in a private dining room because they didn't want to deal with the public, but
right.
They got mad because he didn't come to deal, to their private room,
right,
to sign stuff and take pictures with their kids,
right,
which I thought was kind of hypocritical.
Oh my gosh.
They
Stars, right?
They didn't want to deal with the public, but they wanted him to come hang out in their private room with them.
Oh my gosh. That's hilarious. That's a good story. I'm glad you guys have made up. Yeah, there was a lot. I mean, that time period, especially when you had this website, there was a lot happening. I mean, you're right. There was the George Bigfoot body was a big thing. Just the Erickson project in general. I mean, all that news.
Oh, well, see, that was Erickson was also in the lawsuit.
Yeah,
because he was the one that
he owned the rights to that video, didn't he?
Yeah, but because boy, I don't want to tell too many things that
that's okay.
But Matt sold the video to him for $20,000.
Oh, okay. I see. Okay, I understand.
Matt went there, and I don't know how got the video from the people that, because they set up surveillance equipment, but they did not get that video there. But and then in 2013, I went and actually spent a week out at that house, um, in Kentucky, in Crittenden, Kentucky,
Yeah.
and well, spent five nights out there and
How
hung
was
out.
it?
Nothing creepy happened, but hung out. A friend of mine was continuing a project there, and she invited me to come out and hang out. And so I went and hung out there, traipsed around in the woods and stuff. I didn't see anything, but I actually got to go, actually to where the video was filmed. I
Yeah.
actually got to, the berm that the thing came up behind, and actually where the girl walked across to set the plate of pancakes on there. So I got to see it in person, and spend some time out there. It was pretty cool, but
Yeah.
I never saw anything that was out of the ordinary while
They
there.
they moved from the property, didn't they? Eventually, the family.
Yeah, they moved because Erickson bought the house
Yeah.
from them. Not only bought the house from them, but I'm pretty sure bought another house for them to move to that wasn't far away, and they claimed that the Bigfoots followed them to their new house.
Oh,
Now, I don't know the veracity of that statement, but
sure.
there's supposedly, there was activity going on, after they moved out. So I
Huh.
don't I don't know how far away it was that they moved, but supposedly it wasn't, like 25 miles or anything. It was fairly nearby.
Wow. Okay. Well, what do you think about because the family's saying that the big feet, the
Uh-huh.
Bigfoots, the
Yeah.
Sasquatches, them moving with them. Um, I mean, that kind of walks the line of the woo a little bit. What's your opinions on the
On
woo?
Woo, on the Woo,
On the woo?
um,
Yeah.
on the Woo.
Yeah.
Uh, I like it when a girl goes woohoo, but my opinion, I started a Bigfoot research organization to get answers to the questions I had about what I had encountered. And I would say I probably have more questions now than I did then,
Sure.
and not very many answers. My personal opinion is that um, Bigfoot is a flesh and blood, creature of some kind. That it's almost assuredly a primate. Of course, we're apes.
Right.
Actually on the food chain there, and but I don't attribute any paranormal activity, telepathy,
Cloaking.
cloaking. I think I personally, my opinion is, I think these things are such masters of their domain, to steal a line from Seinfeld, King of the Castle, um, that they're able, just like if you see a white-tailed deer, out in the open and it jumps into the woods, it
Mhm.
it disappears because it's naturally camouflaged. It just blends in with its surroundings.
Right.
So I don't necessarily think that these things can dematerialize, become invisible, that can talk to you in your head. Um, but I don't know. That's just
Sure.
my opinion. Um, there's not any other. Well, I hate to say that. Any other creatures out here, that have illuminating eyes, that
Right.
you know I don't know. I mean, I've never experienced it myself, seen something that I can't attribute it to a flesh and blood creature. Of course, I've only seen one. I believe that I've been out and had them around and heard vocalizations and stuff, when we've been set up overnight. But never have had another visual. Heard some weird shit, for sure. Is going back to Ed Sanchez, the very first overnight outing I did, um, looking for Bigfoot, was the weekend after I saw the Blair Witch Project. So
Oh
it was
God.
just me and one other guy out in the woods that I really didn't know him that well. And I had just seen the Blair Witch Project. So it was pretty creepy, actually. Um, but, I'm just really interested in the subject. I mean, I had an experience I can't explain, and have just, sought answers and haven't really gotten any.
Right.
And just tried to, um, open it up to the general public. There's some people that are anti-conference, like, oh, the talking heads, what do they know? They've never seen a Bigfoot or whatever. But,
Sure.
it's just like finding Bigfoot. Most Bigfoot people, researchers, slam the show. Well, that's not how Bigfoot research makes us all look bad. It's like, if they were to make a show about actual Bigfoot research, it'd be pretty goddamn boring.
That's true.
It'd
Yeah.
be people sitting out around a campfire with cameras and microphones and not a damn thing happening.
Nothing.
And nobody would watch that show,
Yeah.
and nobody would buy advertisement for that show, and it wouldn't be on the air.
Yeah.
That's not the people it's directed at. It's directed to the general public to entice the general public. I mean, look, how many kids that watch Finding Bigfoot and are now interested in the subject?
Exactly.
I mean, all us old cryptozoologists are going to die off, and, there's got to be some new blood in there. So it's up to you kids, you crazy kids, to take over.
To take it. And that's what I say, that I don't watch these shows personally just because I do it, and so of course it's like being a doctor and watching a doctor on TV, you're like, but if it gets people interested in it and it gets them,
that begs a question, Ashley.
Yeah.
I don't know how far I can push the subject.
Oh God.
Do you watch porn?
Do I? Of course I watch porn. Yeah.
Okay. Well, you watch that and you do that.
Well, that's true.
See, that's the question it begged.
That's very true. But sometimes I do watch porn and I'm like, but that's not how. See, I watch amateur porn. That's the difference, because that's real porn.
That's real. Yeah.
So, I mean, that's the difference. But I can relate to amateur porn. But people watch it and they get into it, and the people that want to take it seriously will then go out and do the serious research, right? They'll read the books and they'll start going out and physically investigating, doing the field research. And I mean, that's how it starts. And I think that's how it starts for a lot of us, even people we have on the show, and we ask, hey, how'd you get your start? And they're like, oh, I watched this show as a kid or whatever. I mean, it's constant.
Well, I can tell you one thing, especially my generation, is the fact that they saw The Legend of Boggy Creek when it was at the drive-in or whatever.
Exactly.
In the 70s. And at the Bigfoot conference, I know Lauren Coleman has done it before, but asked, who got interested in this subject, from watching the movie The Legend of Boggy Creek, and more than half the people raised their hands. I mean, it's just incredible how that movie got so many people interested. And it's, like I said, the same with these shows nowadays for the kids, the young kids, with Finding Bigfoot and Expedition Bigfoot and all that stuff that they get them interested, and to hear stories about, kids going out on their back porch and doing their Bigfoot calls to call in Bigfoot or whatever. But, and as a matter of fact, an author that we've had a couple of times at the Texas Bigfoot Conference has written young adult books about Bigfoot, and she teaches a class, about using cryptozoology as a gateway to science, to get kids interested in science.
That's cool.
And for it to continue, it has to have new blood, and they have to get interested somehow. And nowadays kids don't read books, they play video games. But right. if they can see a Finding Bigfoot or an Expedition Bigfoot show and get really interested in it, then they're going to grow up interested in the subject and want to get involved. And And there's nothing wrong with that at all.
Right. Well, exactly. And, Mothman's also a great example of that. How many people heard about the Mothman because of the Mothman Prophecies movie?
Yeah. I mean,
The festival didn't start until that happened, and now
yeah.
nobody would have talked about it ever again. Otherwise, it would have just been obscure history that nobody really focused on.
Yeah. I mean, there were three things that got me interested as a kid, and I only mentioned two, being the Lake Worth Monster and the Legend of Boggy Creek. But smack dab in the middle of those was a book that I traded a kid at school in 1970, which was a book written by John Keel. It was Strange Creatures from Time and Space. And it was still 5 years before he wrote the Mothman Prophecies, but there was a chapter on the Mothman there. And that book fascinated me. And it turns out that, John Keel and I actually share a birthday, March 25th. His was 1930, and I never got to meet him before he passed away.
Yeah.
But, I share a birthday with him. And, he was very influential on me with that book about just weird creatures all over the world.
Yeah.
And so, I've been to Mothman twice. I went in 2013 and 2014. Actually, in 2013, Lyle Blackburn and I road tripped there, drove from Dallas, Texas to West Virginia and to Point Pleasant. And then the next year, Nick Redfern and I road tripped to Point Pleasant. So, had a great time there.
Was 2013 the year that the rave was?
Yes, you heard about the rave. That was the Mothman rave in the theater there when Eric and Carrie and Lyle and I walked in, and we were just dumbfounded.
We had Lyle on a few weeks ago. I made him tell that story on the show.
Yeah, it was a weird experience for sure.
And that's saying something when you're at the Mothman Festival, there for the weekend.
True. Yeah,
Cool.
It was a lot of fun. I mean, I've met a lot of great friends, some of my best friends, through cryptozoology. There's what's better than spending time with like-minded people with a common interest? I mean, it doesn't get any better than that.
Right. Exactly. Well, and
unless the rave turns into an orgy, then.
Well, that's true. Then it could get better.
Perhaps, yes.
Everybody with their moth wings and their red glasses.
Yeah, their illuminated red eyes.
Yeah. At the rave, yeah. Well, that's true. I mean, yeah, the community definitely. And it sounds like, you got into it because you wanted a community to get into. And
yeah,
it sounds like you found that. That's amazing. We talked about like Eric and Carrie and I'm going to take a trip to Pennsylvania just to hang out with them, just not even on business, just and I can do that because I know someone in Pennsylvania and I can go stay at their house. And that's really neat.
Right. Exactly.
So, I mean, I like that part too.
Yeah, that's a big part of it. When I started the Bigfoot Research Organization, and while the research and investigations was a big deal, I told everybody that came aboard, to me, 50% of this is the camaraderie. Again, hanging out with people with like-minded people with a common interest. I mean, I consider Lyle one of my very best friends, and if it wasn't for Bigfoot, I wouldn't have met him. Right. And we've spent a lot of time together, done a lot of stuff together, and had a lot of great fun. And so he just so happened to show up at the 2009 Texas Bigfoot Conference, and met him, and he got involved with what we were doing, and he and I have done a lot together. He almost always speaks at my events and supports them and gets the word out. And very enjoyable. And we started in 2019, we started hosting Falk Monster Festival in Falk, Arkansas, because
Yeah.
the there've been several permutations over the years of different festivals, Boggy Creek festivals, Monster Days, whatever. But the last one had petered out after 2015, and we generally, the day after the Texas Bigfoot Conference, we drive up to Falk. It's less than an hour away from Jefferson, and so we went up there to the Monster Mart, because people that want to go see it because of the movie. So we would
Right.
take people up there, and we walked into the Monster Mart, and the mayor of Falk is in the Monster Mart, and there's lots of people there that came from the Bigfoot Conference, and he's wanting to know why there's so many people up there that day. And I was like, well, the Texas Bigfoot Conference just ended this weekend, and he voiced that boy, I sure wish we had another festival here in town, and so I told him, this was October of 2018. I said, well, it'd be an honor for me to put on a Falk Monster Festival, because Falk, again, very influential to me, the legend of Bayou Creek. So 6 months later, we had, well, it's actually 8 months later, we had our first annual Falk Monster Festival in 2019, and donated, wrote a check for $3,000 to the Falk Independent School District.
Wow.
And I started, I don't know, 5 years ago or so, offering scholarships here in Jefferson to graduating seniors from the high school, the Texas Bigfoot Scholarship. And so I started doing that in Falk. And in Falk this year, I awarded 8 scholarships to seniors in Falk, and I awarded 10 of them here in Jefferson that, proceeds from the conference, fund that scholarship fund to give back to the community. So
That's awesome.
Jefferson has embraced it. I mean, pretty much every restaurant in town has Bigfoot barbecue or a Bigfoot burger. In 2018, the mayor signed a town proclamation that Jefferson was the Bigfoot capital of Texas. There's one shop that, basically is, at least 50% of the stuff in there is Bigfoot. There's several other stores that have, Bigfoot souvenirs and trinkets and stuff and shirts. So the town has really embraced it. And so I, want to give back. So I felt the best way was to award, young people. It's a questionnaire on the application for the scholarship that they answer. What do you think about, the Falk monster there or Bigfoot here in Texas? So, I asked them that question, what their thoughts are, and they answer that question on their scholarship application to, see if they're interested. Or, I always look for kids that are getting into, wanting to take scientific courses in college, and like to try and reward those kids because they are interested in nature and the environment and science. So, maybe one day maybe they'll carry on the tradition of being interested in the subject.
Or maybe they'll discover a Bigfoot.
Exactly.
That's great. Have you had any follow up from any of them yet? It sounds like, I don't know if it's a newer thing that you started doing.
Well, they, go off to college, and, I keep in touch with some of them. Some of them, send correspondence, generally some of them send thank you letters after the scholarships awarded to them, and keep in touch with them. And,
Sure.
I've had several that, come back and come to the conference every year, and
Very cool.
talk about how Bigfoot helped their college education, stuff like that. So
Very fun. Well, I want to keep you, but I don't want to keep you all night. So remind people then again, when is the next conference? How can they get in on this action and support it?
Well, it is October 14th and 15th here in East Texas. We're about 45 minutes from Shreveport, about 2.5 hours from Dallas. But the conference is a dinner Friday night, and then a special presentation, and then Saturdays the conference is all day, and then we have a catered dinner there at the venue, and several other special presentations available. Like I said, I've got the UFO Con coming up November 19th here in Jefferson. December 10th is the Bigfoot Film Festival. And April 29th of next year is the Fouke Monster Festival. So if they're interested in any or all of those, they can just search on Facebook and find the event page that has the details on attending, registering, if you want to be a vendor or whatever at these events. But all that information is out there on Facebook.
Great. And where can people find you? Where's the best place to follow you and everything that you're doing at?
On Facebook, I've got a new website. It's not ready to launch yet for the Bigfoot Film Festival, but all my stuff is on Facebook. I have a public page that's Craig Woolheater, Texas Bigfoot Research Center, as well as my personal profile. And there's Facebook pages for all these events: Texas Bigfoot Conference, Fouke Monster Festival, Texas UFO Con, all those things. Texas Bigfoot Conference. There's pages for those, event pages that has the information on the upcoming event, speakers, and all of that stuff on Facebook.
Awesome. And then of course I've got the descriptions down below if you guys want to go check those out. For easy access. I know how much you guys like easy access. Pat,
it's one of my favorite things. Other than air conditioning, I think easy access is probably the second greatest thing ever invented.
The easier the better, Craig says.
I do. I'm a fan of easy access.
Like wearing sweatpants at the strip club. You know what I mean?
Oh my God.
I wasn't quite thinking sweatpants, but
snap away pants too.
The snapaways. Just none at all. Fuck it. I mean,
the tearaway.
Yes, I remember watching like a basketball game and seeing someone wear those like when they were getting ready to play, and I was like, man, I wish I could get those. And one of my friends was like, they sell that shit at TJ Maxx, and I went out and I had multiple pairs of snap away pants because there was nothing cooler than just being like, you got to do the whip with if you could flick your wrist fast enough, but you can like just boom, whip them right off.
Right.
See, I'm fortunate. I can just wear dresses. I mean, and I'm good to go.
Yeah. Well, typical broad doesn't have to work as hard as the dudes do, but whatever, such is life. Ain't the first time, ain't the last time, no, we have to develop hand-eye coordination and have snap away pants.
You gotta try a little bit.
Right.
Yeah. And, and there's that whole thing with, it's your show. Are we still being recorded?
Yeah, we are.
Okay. Well, why is it's so much easier for a chick to get laid than a dude? Am I right, Pat?
Well, we have boobs.
Am I right, Pat?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's more complicated. I know plenty of chicks that have a hard time too, but chicks have higher standards. I think guys get cum brained where they just get so goofy that
it doesn't matter.
Yeah, and
I'm not holding a fence.
Yeah, and that's the problem is that guys will be way more self-destructive, even though women have way more to lose from low impact pairings. But I don't think it's easy for anybody to find love. Let me just put it like that. I mean,
if that's a whole different thing.
If you're looking for the right person, then it's not easy for anyone. But if a chick's just looking to get laid, yeah, she can maybe initiate that a little bit easier than a guy. But at the same time, if a guy's just looking to get laid, go get a hooker or something like that. And then it's really easy. I mean, I don't.
Sure.
How easy is it to do that? Like incredibly easy.
That's pretty
How
easy.
easy is it for a chick to go on social media and say who wants to bang me and have any random neckbeard show up and do it? Like that's pretty easy too. But neither one of those things is healthy, and I think that if you look at it on a healthy pairing, a chick has more to lose from it. So
Wow.
I'm pretty cool being a guy,
Pato dropping,
sure, yeah.
dropping some wisdom. Wow. Some nuggets there.
Right. And the most important thing to learn from today's episode is that TJ Maxx sells snap way pants.
That's your takeaway. Yeah.
They do exist in the public. You can't find them in the wild.
Are there different colors of them?
I had a black pair and a gray pair. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, okay. Well, well, Craig, thank you so much for coming on the show.
And bringing forth my wisdom.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well,
this has been fantastic. I hope that our audience is sufficiently drunk. But just in case they're not, fuckity fuck. And
that's a bunch of shots in a row right there.
Yeah. Well, you guys will have to report back to me and let me know if you're still alive. That'd be great.
Yeah. I hope we don't have any cases of alcohol, poisoning or anything.
Yeah. Right. Or you might form a kaiju monster like Anne Hathaway in Colossal.
Exactly. And terrorize cities.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, we're going to go ahead and we're going to stop it there, but we'll see you guys back here next Wednesday.